What's up, my friends? Today's my birthday, and I wanted to use today as a special day to just go over my previous journey, as 37 in numerology is basically a 1. So for me, it's like a restart. And not coincidentally, that's what I've been preparing my life for. I took a year off. I had a sabbatical year, or I retired at the age of 36. Just so that I can realign myself, my purpose, my identity, and start fresh in a brand new direction. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. But just to give you a quick highlight on who I am, why the hell should you listen to me? Well, I'm 37 years old. By the time I was 27, 28, I had become financially free. I had a net worth in real estate of over $1 million. And this is a person who achieved this, who grew up in poverty, the most extreme poverty that you can think of in New York City. We grew up in a Section 8 neighborhood. I was bouncing around different apartments with my mom, with my dad, very unstable. My parents basically were never together during my whole life. So I was essentially born into a world of instability, of stress, anxiety, high pressure. And those are things that you think that just because the child is young or is a baby might not feel it or might not be affected by these things, but you actually could affect the baby in the womb. If the mother is stressed while she's pregnant, the baby can pick up stress and be born under stress, which could lead to also miscarriages and etc. or C-sections. But that was my environment. That was how I grew up. I grew up thinking that stress, anxiety, and a lack of motivation was normal, because that's what my reality was. That's what I saw in my parents. So I always thought different from the crowd, and I decided that after college I wasn't going to take up a regular job, a 9 to 5. So I got into real estate because I could make commissions, I could earn big checks. And I had just read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, where I understood that financial freedom is essentially passive income overriding or surpassing your expenses. So that's exactly what I did by 27, 28. I did that, and that's when I took, my first break from real estate. I just left the business. I exited the industry. We had, my team and I, we had close to $40 million in listings, but I decided this was the time for me to leave, because I also had a deeper understanding that life was not just about money. And when I had money, I still had all of these issues, all of these traumas that were still unresolved. And you could say that it might have gotten worse, because I was trying to cope with all of the things that I was dealing with internally, with alcohol, with weed, and with just bad people, and just keeping myself entertained and busy. And I came to a real awakening right around COVID, when I just decided to just be on my own. I was with someone before, and it was a prolonged relationship, in my opinion. I think it went on for way longer than it should have. But that's what happens when you become comfortable. You kind of just accept things, and you compromise with yourself, and then you start living under your potential. So it was a really tough decision at the time. It wouldn't be a tough decision, let's say, as the person I am today. But here are some of the things that I learned in my journey over the past 13 years being an entrepreneur. And I would start off with the first thing being, which is the reason why I decided to retire young, is that your nervous system plays a huge part in what you do in the world, or how you operate, or how you perform. So when I was in New York City and I was performing, I was still operating under survival mode. My main driver was stress, anxiety, and high pressure, and scarcity. And that's what was driving me to succeed and to become financially successful. And it worked. To a certain point, it worked. But the problem with that is, if you allow stress and survival to be your main driving force, once you get out of survival, your nervous system doesn't understand what to do after that. So that's kind of what happened to me. And so what I would suggest is what the Bible says. Seek the kingdom with God within you first. Seek the kingdom of God within you first, and all these things shall be added onto you. I had no clue of this concept before. So I was just hustling and grinding, trying to make money. And the interior part of me was still very, very hurt. It was still damaged. And no matter what I did, how many cool events I went to, that inner part of me was still hurting. And, all of my exterior experiences were mirroring that hurt inside. So I would always suggest, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, because it's not an easy thing. To be an entrepreneur, you basically have to expose who you are to the world, and you will be known by your fruits. Whatever you carry, whatever you hold inside of your system, you're going to manifest out into the world. So that's why I always hit limits and financial limits, because I had stress limits, I had nervous system limits, I had a program that was limited, because that's how I learned the art of business, through the lens of my upbringing, through the lens of my parents and my peers. I always saw that success was very, very hard. I always saw that making money was extremely stressful and tiring, and it took a great deal of sacrifice. If I had grown up, let's say, in a different part of the world, in a different parallel universe, and I saw that, my parents are tech wizards or programmers, I would have a different understanding. But that's why each mind is its own universe. You think and you believe what you grew up seeing. And so I saw that money just came through hard work. So that's what I was doing, and I kept burning out. I kept hustling, I kept grinding, I kept making money, and then I kept burning out. And this was just a process that kept going over and over and over again. But the nervous system is a huge part. As for an entrepreneur especially, you need to be calm, and you need to have a nervous system that is regulated. To be calm and to be centered and to be aligned with what your purpose is. And today I feel that I'm going to start doing new ventures in my life. I'm going to start new businesses, new projects, but now I'm going to operate at a much calmer vibration and frequency. I'm not the same person I was before, who was struggling for survival, although it makes a big difference that I am no longer in survival financially. But I was still there after I had reached financial freedom. I was still in survival mentally. My program was still running on that old system until I changed it. And that was a complete reboot to my nervous system and to my mind, which it takes a lot of things. It takes a lot of disciplines that you have to do day in and day out. Even if you don't want to do them, you still have to do them. It's no different than, you want to be fit, you have to go to the gym whether you feel like it or not. So in order for you to reset your nervous system, it takes a lot of physical, mental, and spiritual practices, which is what I've been focusing on for the past year or so, like very aggressively, very focused. And I could say that I feel a lot more calmer and clearer now, looking into the future. Before, I could not really focus on things that were bigger than I was, because I still felt that I still had some leaks in my foundation. So this is why I wouldn't really expand too much. I wouldn't aim too high. I wouldn't reach for bigger things, because I felt I could get in trouble. If I make too much money, I could probably become more damaged of a person. And you don't have to think of it consciously. If you run systems that are based on survival, you're going to make unconscious decisions that reflect exactly what that program is. And that is what was happening to me. I was running these old systems, and I was hitting these plateaus, these financial limits. So I took a whole year off, and I fixed all that through the different methods and practices. Some of them are ancient, some of them are newer. It's just a mix of things. Diet, it has a big part of that. And I would just say, for the entrepreneur that is starting out, to invest in yourself first and foremost. Invest in your health, invest in your mind, invest in your nervous system, which means invest in being clear with who you are, what your purpose is, making sure that survival is not your program. Even if you are in survival, have a magnet, apply a vision that can serve you as a magnet that pulls you upwards. Whenever things are getting tough, whenever things are getting hard, just keep that faith and the vision that you're going to reach your goals, no matter how high they are and no matter how many people laugh at you or say that it's not possible. And it's a lonely road. Entrepreneurship and success is a very, very lonely road. I can't say that I have one friend next to me that I grew up with. They're all gone, or let's say I'm gone. And that's just the way it is. You're not going to be able to pull up people with you in this journey. You're going to be able to pull up maybe 1 or 2 family members who've always supported you, and that's really about it on average. It's not, you're not going to, you're not going to pull up the crew with you. It doesn't work that way. It's a lonely road. And as you keep progressing up the ladder of your own financial success and your own potential, you're going to start meeting different people along that way in your life that are going to support the new version of you, because we're changing and we're evolving every single day. If you're putting in the work, if you're doing the right things, you should be evolving on a daily basis. And sometimes we can get used to not doing anything and then surrounding ourselves with people who are just lazy and don't put in the work to do anything. And that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous as well. You have to keep your identity firm. You have to decide what you want to do in your life, what you see yourself doing in 10 years, and work backwards. Have a goal. And if it's a goal that scares you and makes you stretch, that's great. That's even better. And just have the faith that you're going to achieve that goal, and have the mindset that you're going to do whatever it takes for you to get there. No matter what it takes, you will do it to get there, because that is your full potential. And nothing great it comes easy. So I would say this, I started having phone calls with Peter recently, who is one of the agents in the brokerage in New York City. And, maybe he thought we were going to start discussing real estate fundamentals and tactics and strategies and sales pitches. But what we discuss on these phone calls is mindset, is traction, manifestation, visualization, prayer, feeling, nervous system, goals, and having a high positive attitude every day. And once you become this person, once that is your character, to be a person like that, you're essentially unstoppable, and the universe, providence will work in your favor. God will work in your favor. God will move mountains for you. But the first step is you have to believe in yourself. You have to invest in yourself, invest in your health, your mental health. Stop watching garbage. Stop scrolling on TikTok, on YouTube, unless it's content that can help you out. Stop wasting time. Stop wasting 90 minutes, 3 hours, 2 hours watching millionaires play a sport that is making them richer while you're struggling to pay bills. Make wiser decisions. Treat your life seriously, because you're the only person that is going to be working for you. So treat your life very seriously. You only have one life. This is your only chance, and every day you're getting older. You're not getting younger. So focus on these things, on these small little fundamentals, and you should be on your way.